Hey everyone, I'm Ashes,
And I'm Will.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Ashes
Ashes
and
and
Will
Will
Do
Do Disney.
Disney.
Each week, one of us will tell the other the history, facts, and stories behind the rides and attractions of Disney that have made special memories for generations.
Keep in mind that Ashes and Will Do Disney is not affiliated with or employed by the Walt Disney Company, and our views and opinions do not reflect theirs.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, and put on your ears because it's time for Ashes and Will Do Disney. I'm going to say something that I haven't gotten to say in a little while, and that is, oh hey there, Ashes.
Oh, hey babe.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're joining me for a mini episode this week.
I know. Sorry, life is busy.
It's been very busy, which is why we decided to kind of take the break from the full episode so we can make sure that we were ready to come back and put out good content, not just
Yeah,
rushed content.
yeah. No, I'm glad you've been able to still put stuff out. I mean, I've definitely missed being able to record with you because I have a lot of fun,
Yeah.
but it's I mean, I've had approximately like zero time to actually like research any episodes or do anything. I still have about a million ideas sitting on a back
Yeah.
burner.
Same.
So
Same.
it'll summertime will come, the kids will be out of school. I think things will simmer down. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll see what happens
My
when
my
summertime
list
rolls.
of projects for the yard keep getting longer and longer, but at some point it'll be either really hot or rainy and I'll have to come inside, right?
Yeah, at some point. Sure. Sure.
So,
But this is still, just to reiterate, it is just a mini episode, not going to be a full episode. But since I went to Disneyland, then you went to Disneyland. Figure we could talk about our trips a little bit, touch on those, kind of compare notes, and we'll talk about something that's actually pretty divisive among Disney fans. So
yeah.
let's go ahead and start off. How was your Disney trip?
I had a lot of fun. I missed the kids though a
Right.
lot. It was harder than I expected. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had fun being an adult, getting to run around, but like, I missed that stroller. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
You got a little backpack because I always carry the
Yeah,
backpack or stick it in the
yeah.
stroller. You
Like,
weren't used to having to carry
I
one.
didn't have you, and I didn't have a stroller. I was like, excuse me, who's gonna carry all my stuff? So that was rough. Like, we were joking about just getting a stroller and putting like a blanket on it and just putting like our stuff in it and be like, nobody
Tuck your
has to
blankets in
know.
it or your backpacks in at night when it gets cold and
Yeah, nobody has to know we don't have a baby. Like, but legit, like, what? At least I've got you for when the kids are too big for a stroller.
you know. But I
But
think it's interesting though that you talked about missing the kids because my first day there, I got in, I couldn't quite check into my room yet, so I dropped my luggage off and went to downtown Disney. And when I got from downtown Disney and put my stuff in the room, I texted you. I'm like, this is really weird being here without you guys. Miss you guys a lot, and you thought I was just being tired and kind of whiny about it, but then you understood once you got there, and
yeah, I thought you were just a weenie.
yeah,
And then I was the weenie.
then you were a weenie too. So
Yeah. But you and I have always been the people who enjoy traveling with our kids.
right,
So,
especially to Disney, like that's something we've always done.
yeah. I mean, I definitely still had an amazing time. I had a
Right,
great time with my friends. I still had a lot of fun, but it was definitely like hard being like, "Oh, my kids would like
that
this."
was the biggest thing. I remember when I got off Rise of the Resistance. In typical fashion, like us, we always just happen to like walk out into parades.
Yeah.
So we never have to find a spot because we just happen to walk right out into it.
Yeah.
Same thing happened. I got off Rise of the Resistance and walked out to a parade.
Yeah.
And I was watching the parade go by and I was like, man, the kids would love this.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. But I think like next girls trip I take, like I literally would just rather go like sit on a beach for multiple days and just go do things that like the kids would be like, yeah,
Things the
no.
kids would be bored with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't
I talked about going to the Stanley Hotel for the weekend and like doing ghost hunty stuff.
yeah, I'm gonna peace out to Mexico.
There you go. That's totally
So
fine. Totally fine. But what did you do that you've never done before?
I got to do quite a few things I'd never done before. So this is gonna sound funny. You know me and my like love of the underdogs, right?
Hmm.
Of everything. Everybody knows this. Literally one of my top things to do was seriously ride the Ferris wheel at Pixar Pier.
The pal around?
Yeah, and I got to do it, and I got to ride one of the ones that like swings and
Yeah,
moves.
because I won't do that. One, I don't like Ferris wheels in general. I think I've been on one Ferris wheel one time,
Um,
and that
so
one swings, so
our middle
forget
kid,
that.
we took her up to the theme park here. That's, like an hour north of us, and she was so excited for the Ferris wheel and absolutely hated it. And to
She
this
was
day,
terrified.
still talks about that time we got stuck on the Ferris wheel.
Not understanding that they just stop you to let people off.
Yeah, and I'm still like, no, we did not get stuck. That's literally how a Ferris wheel works.
Yeah,
And
we
she's
did
like, no,
nowhere near
we
did we
got,
break down and get stuck at the
she's
top.
like,
That's
we
just
got
how it
stuck on the
works.
Ferris wheel. I'm like, we did not get stuck on a Ferris wheel. I loved that thing.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And if I could actually like duct tape our little, middle child to me and like get her on that thing, she would have a
She'd
blast
like
on
it.
there because it's just like a giant swing.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't move that fast when it like rolls down a little bit and then it just kind of swings at the bottom. I loved it. Erica went on it with me, my friend, and she screamed and was not nearly as amused by it as I was.
Which baffles me because she can do like Tower of Terror and Mission Breakout
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that. but
And
but the swinging Ferris wheel was a little much.
yeah, my other two friends, I think they were on something else. They were on a different ride at the same time that we went on. Like they were on like the swings that went around or getting coffee or something. But so it was just me and Erica. But it I loved it. Would absolutely go on it again. I had a blast, and I literally was sitting on there. I go, I don't think one person in my family would enjoy this with
Nope,
me.
probably not.
Maybe our youngest would. No, he'd probably
No,
scream
he'd
too.
scream.
I don't know. It was a blast though. If I could get you all on it, was actually very enjoyable. I had a great time on that ride.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I did the Incredicoaster, which was
Okay.
fun. I liked that one. I did Cars.
I did Cars while I was there, which thank God for single rider line because it's fun,
Yeah,
but it's very short, and I don't know that it's worth an hour and a half to 2 hour wait.
I completely agree. I'm glad I single ridered that.
Yep.
I,
I think I waited 15 minutes for single rider for that ride.
yeah, that's a ride where it's like, it, I would definitely not take our kids through that line unless it was less than an hour. It's just,
It's just very short for the wait.
I mean, it wasn't a bad ride,
No,
but
it's fun.
I don't know.
It's just not a very long ride. It's not like Rise of the Resistance where it's like a 20-minute experience.
Well, and even like, so I know we're going to get to Genie Plus in a minute here, but like of the Genie Plus ones that cost even extra to pay for, you've got what? Cars, Web Slingers, and Rise of the
And Rise of the
Resistance.
Resistance, yep.
Okay, I understand Rise of the
Hmm.
Resistance. I understand Web Slingers.
Hmm.
But Cars, I'm like, people pay extra for this?
Yeah,
Like that one I don't get.
because I feel like it was only like a total of like, maybe it's just skewed for me, but I felt like it was only like a 5-minute ride.
I mean, I don't know. Like length aside, I don't know. I was like, okay, cool.
Because it's
Meh.
partially like it's a dark ride. It takes you through some different scenes of cars, and then it takes you out, and you go fast for like a minute and a half, and then you're done.
Yeah, it was okay.
It's okay. It's fun.
It
Just
wasn't
to me,
bad.
not worth that big of a wait.
I just feel like the weight hypes it up, and then you're like, and that queue, like that line, is all outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no
No
shade.
shade.
And I could not imagine waiting in line with the kids.
Yep.
Uh, that would be
Like,
miserable.
yeah, you don't get shade until you're pretty much at the end of the queue to
Yeah,
like get on a car. That's when you get shade.
yeah. So that would be rough.
Yeah.
I think that was everything new over in Pixar. Oh, I did Guardians of the
You did
Galaxy.
Mission Breakout. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Probably my favorite ride over in California Adventureland.
Mm-hmm.
By far. We did that one every single day and did not disappoint. Loved that one. that was great. I think that was all the new rides that I did over in,
DCA.
yeah, DCA. And then over at Disneyland itself, I mean, I've done everything over there. Um, well, except for they changed Space Mountain to
Hyperspace
Hyperspace
Mountain
Mountain.
for Star Wars.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was not a fan. I really like, I hate being that person who's like,
Don't
oh,
change
don't
it.
change it. I don't like the change. But they just, they added a lot of like pew 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 and like
Yeah.
it just, then it, I don't know, like it kind of reminded me, like I get car sick,
Yeah.
so having like little like pew pews like fly past me while going fast, like it just messed with
Throws
me a
off
little
your
bit,
equilibrium.
and I didn't like it. Like it took away from the ride. I mean, we still rode it like 2 or 3 times, and that was, I mean, it was fun, but that was the, I was like, oh no, I actually really liked it better the
Yeah.
old way. And then of course, Rise of the
Rise of the
Resistance.
Resistance. I told you before you went that even not being a Star Wars fan, that ride is worth doing.
And just like I didn't believe you about being, you know, you being a weenie and missing the kids, I highly
You
underestimated.
did, because you were like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, well, at least go do it so I can get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, Star Wars. And then, so we're in line for Rise of the Resistance. The wait wasn't that long. I think it was less than an hour when we got in queue for it, like in line, and the ride broke down.
Yep. I mean, that's
And
typical. Like, if you're going to Disney World or Disneyland, Rise of the Resistance breaks down a lot. It didn't break down when I got in line, but the people in front of me had talked about how it had already broken down that morning.
yeah,
And that was the second thing I did. I always start with Haunted Mansion, and then I went to Rise of the Resistance,
yeah,
and the people in front of me were talking about how it had already broken down in the morning. So I lucked out, didn't deal with the breakdowns, but it is a fairly common thing for that ride to break down.
yeah. So we got in line. We were only outside for just a little bit, so
Mm-hmm.
that shows you that the line was kind of short. We got to like the inside part of the line fairly quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and the line is very deceptive. It's kind of like the line for Indiana Jones there, where it's like you're just in a cave and you're just like, you can't see around the corners. You
Right?
don't know where you're going. You have no clue how long
You
this
don't know
line
how
is.
close you are to the end.
I will say the fact that they put like benches built in there, you know, my two friends who wanted the stools there very much appreciated.
Yeah.
So, but it's like we're like going, we're going, we're going, and we were like, I guess a fair way up there, and the ride broke down. And my one friend Sonia is a big Star Wars, like she likes Star
She likes
Wars.
it.
Erica really likes Star Wars. We were like, I was like, no, I was like, I don't want to get out of line. I was like, Will told me I have to ride this ride. Like I can't get out of line. So we're like waiting, waiting. We waited like 30 minutes, and I texted you right when it
Mm-hmm.
broke down, and you were like, "Don't leave," and I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna leave." And it'd been like 30 or so minutes, and like people kept like bailing out.
People
So
got out of line,
I
yeah.
mean, it was fine. Like we kept getting to
It
move
moves you
closer,
closer.
and then like we were hitting like it was a little over 30 minutes, and I was like, are we wasting our day? Like it was our last day there, and I was like, oh man,
Then you
like,
sent me the picture of where you were at, and I was like, stay in line, you're almost
well,
there.
no, no, no. So first, before that, I texted you, and I was like, we're still in line. It's still broken down, and you're like, oh yeah, it breaks down all the time. Like you should go. And I was like, are you kidding
I
me?
didn't tell you should go.
Pretty sure you were just like,
I told you, I asked you how long you'd been waiting, and then I asked where you were at in the
no, no,
line.
no. Before that, you said
I
you go,
told you it breaks down all the time.
no, no, no. And then you go, oh yeah, when I was there, it was broken down for 2.5 hours. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, you literally told me to stay in this line. And then you asked me where I was at
Well, then
after
that's when I
that.
started asking how long you'd been waiting. You hadn't been waiting. In the grand scheme of how long that ride can break down, you hadn't been waiting very
Well,
long.
no, no, no. So straight up, Sonia and I Googled how long does Rise of the Resistance on average break down for? Because we were like, what are we doing here? Are we wasting our day? Are we not? And literally, Googled straight told us on average, Rise of the Resistance breaks down for 41 minutes. And that was almost the exact amount of time that it was broken
Yep.
down for.
Well, I was talking to you about this last night when we were at Disney World, and it was still a virtual queue you had to get into to do that ride. And we had gotten in, and then our friends who went with us on the trip got into the queue right after us.
Yeah.
And then the ride broke down. And since they were in the later part of the queue, they got kicked out of the queue.
Yeah.
And we were still technically in it, but we were like, we're not going to go ride this without you. Like, okay, thanks for waiting around for us. We'll tell you how it was.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to do it then because, again, that ride breaks down all the time.
Yeah.
But just to kind of wrap that part up, super immersive ride.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was broken down for 41-ish minutes. Finally, yeah, sent you the picture and you're like, you are literally almost there. And as soon as it turned back on, we literally were like right
Yep, you
there.
pretty much walked right on.
Yeah, we walked pretty much right on. And oh my God, was it amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun ride.
I was blown away. That was, I mean, the most immersive ride I've ever been on.
Mm-hmm.
That was genuinely amazing. And I saw a Disneyland cat.
You did. You saw a Disneyland cat, which we learn about in Monster of the Whale and Feral Cats. Go check that episode out if you haven't yet.
Yes, I was like I was like so enamored with the ride, but then I looked over and there was the cat and I was like, Sonia! And I couldn't get a picture of it, but I was very excited to be like. But you
saw a feral cat.
I saw a Disneyland cat, so that actually was very exciting. But that ride was absolutely amazing. Definitely like a solid 20-minute ride.
It's a 20-minute experience. Like, I don't even call it a ride. I call it an experience.
Yeah, the whole thing, like you're going from one part to another and like there are just so many different aspects to it, and
there's character interaction on the ride.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal, and I absolutely would go on that one again. Worth the wait.
Yeah.
And I will say the one last part of my trip that was fun was, so I like to close the parks. I'm not a rope dropper, but I like to close the parks, and we got to ride Big Thunder Mountain like 3 times in a row.
Back to back.
Yeah, and that was so much fun. And the bobsled Matterhorn Mountain was not enjoyable.
I know, you told me how great it was, and I'd never done it, so I did it, and it was super jerky, and I'm all old, and I was in the very front, and you like drop down into a very little bit of water at the very end, and I definitely got roller coaster water in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I've done it now. I can say I did, and I don't need to do it again.
No, that one was far jerkier than I remember.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so you had touched on it just a little bit, and this is a pretty divisive topic among Disney fans, and we're going to talk about my experience with it and your experience with it briefly. But when you and I honeymooned to Disneyland in 2006, we discovered the Fast Pass system for rides.
Yes.
And you walk up to the ticket station, you press a little button, and it gives you a little paper ticket and tells you when to come back. And I wouldn't necessarily say we abused it, but we used it over and over for soaring over California when we were there.
I don't think we abused it by any means.
No.
We'd go on the ride, we'd come back out, we'd get another one.
And it just happened to work out the way the Fast Passes were coming out, that we literally would get off the ride, get it, and pretty much walk right back on it.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to say probably at least 3 or 4 times, like, we walked off of soaring over California, hit the button, got a Fast Pass, and walked right back on.
Yeah.
So you have that. And then we fast forward several years, and you and I are doing a couple of days at the parks at Walt Disney World before our first Disney cruise. And there, the Fast Pass system was much different. You don't walk up, you don't press a little button and get your ticket. You had to reserve your Fast Passes ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which you and I weren't as Disney savvy yet, so we had no clue about that, and a lot of them were already booked up, but we did get one for Pirates.
Yeah.
And tried that out. And then we fast forward again, and we're at Disneyland again, and Fast Pass system is similar to our first experience, but it's also a little more restricted. Now you have to scan your park pass, and you can't have overlapping tickets either. You can't just walk up and grab a bunch, because I remember we tried to get another one, and it was like, you already scanned a Fast Pass for this time frame. You can't get another one.
And back then it was based off of like if you were staying on the Disney resort, you could book, I think it was 90 days in advance for your Fast Passes.
World.
At Disney World, yes. You could do 90 days in advance it was either 90 or 60, something like that. And then, but if you were staying off, you could do, it was 30 days less than the people staying on resort.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically like, if you're not staying on resort, your options for fast passes
They're
were,
limited. You can get
well,
it for like
yeah,
Aladdin's
like,
Magic Carpet Ride or something.
yeah, like you were, like, everything good was already taken.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get a fast pass for a ride that's only a 20-minute wait as it is.
Yeah.
So,
You're like, small world.
yeah. But with the way the fast pass system was when it was free like that, even with restrictions, like it was getting abused.
Yeah. Well, and they
So,
were strong arming you to staying on resort.
yeah, right. But now we've got Genie Plus, which basically replaced Fast Pass, and it's essentially a paid Fast Pass system to use the Lightning Lane.
Yes.
There's also a complimentary version of Genie Plus that you can't get Lightning Lanes, but it gives you what's called the tip board.
Yes.
And you didn't know about that until I was telling you about it.
I was looking at it differently than the way you were
Mm-hmm.
looking at it.
So the tip board, before all the Genie Plus stuff, you used to pull up the Disneyland app and you'd look at it and it would give you a map of the park and it would show different wait times and you'd click on it and it'd show you what ride it was. The tip board brings up all the rides in alphabetical order and you can switch between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. It has all the rides in alphabetical order, tells you if the ride is broken down, tells you what the wait time is, and that's how I managed my day because I would look at it and go, okay, I haven't done Rise of the Resistance yet. It's only a 70-minute wait. Let me get in there. Oh, Star Tours is only 20 minutes right now. Let me haul over to Tomorrowland and get on that wait.
Yeah.
That's how I used it.
Yeah.
So for me, by myself, I didn't think I needed Genie Plus to like pay for Lightning Lanes.
Yeah.
Because it was just me.
Yeah.
But you actually used it in a group. So what are your thoughts on that, actually paying for it to get your Lightning Lanes? Pros and cons.
Oh, so for us, it was absolutely worth it. We had literally like 6 rides break down on us while we were in line for them
Mm-hmm.
or on them. It was kind of absurd. I don't know what was happening that weekend, but everything kept breaking down. And it literally was almost always the ones that we were like, we're like, okay, we don't have Lightning Lane this hour. Like, let's go just stand in line for
Yeah.
this thing. And something would break down. And it was so frustrating. Like, my one friend was like, I'm not doing anything unless it's Lightning Lane or it's 20 minutes. I was like, and I was like, I mean, I can't even argue with her because every time,
Because
like,
everything keeps breaking
Winnie
down.
the Pooh broke down, like,
Okay.
while we were on it. Thankfully, we were not quite in the ride. We had like started it and it got like right before the entrance, so they let us off. Otherwise, we would have been like stuck in there for a while. So for us, it was absolutely worth it. And you know what? Honestly, like, I like it better than when you could book it out like 30 days in
Mm-hmm.
advance or something like that, because you just kind of got to pick in the moment
Yeah.
or like that morning.
And that was the nice thing about the tip board too, is that you look at it and we'll tell you like, here's the standby wait, or you can get a lightning lane for this time, and then you just click on it,
Yeah,
and it gives you your
exactly.
lightning lane.
Well, and that was the nice part is we looked at like standby times versus like the lightning lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, there's no point in doing the lightning lane for this one because the standby time is this. We'll do the lightning lane for this one instead.
Yeah.
So that part was nice. And it was nice not having to worry about planning out our fast passes so far in advance.
Right.
The only part that was like slightly frustrating was like there was like Rise of the Resistance you had to pay extra for.
It's an extra pay.
And Web Slingers was an extra pay. So it's like
They're newer, more popular rides.
Yeah.
Though. So like, while you may not necessarily like that, I understand why they do it. It's kind of like the monorail had its own separate pay for to ride.
So, but with the Lightning Lane, like we did Guardians of the Galaxy every day.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Lightning Lane, you could only do like we could only do Guardians of the Galaxy one time per day.
Right.
So it only lets you do it one time
and once
per
you
day.
use a lightning lane on a ride, that's it for the day. You can't do it again like that until the next day.
So you can do Lightning Lane basically like as many times as you want throughout the day. Well, it only lets you can have 2 booked at once, but you can only book like you can only book one every like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if they happen to kind of um, like you can have two
Overlap.
booked at the same time, like they won't overlap, but like say like you booked one for like way later in the day and then 2 hours later you could still book one even if you hadn't used that first one yet.
Okay.
But it lets you book one every 2 hours. So you have to wait till your 2 hour mark is up and then you can rebook again
Mm-hmm.
a different one. And so I like how it limits, like
Yes.
it's,
Which is the purpose of it. It's
yeah,
supposed to restrict the abuse of a fast pass system.
yeah, it makes it a lot harder for people to abuse it. You can't go
Yeah.
up and push the button a million times. You, you know,
Well,
can't,
if you miss your lightning lane time too, like, well, that's it. You missed your lightning lane for that day.
yeah,
You can't do it. You can't be like, well, I missed my 2 o'clock. Let me just rebook it for 4.
yeah, which is, a bummer, but like
But
that's
at the same
life.
time, like, that's kind of the point of it,
Yeah.
though.
So I do feel like it does really kind of help with the traffic, the flow of
Mm-hmm.
it. And I get people don't like paying extra for it. I do understand that.
Sure.
I, you know, it's a business.
It
I
is.
I don't know. Like you don't have to pay for it. You can just go wait in line.
And
To
you mentioned
me,
too, like you just said, and it was going to bring me to one of my points that I especially noticed on web slingers was the flow of traffic in the lines. Because a lot of people are worried, like, well, all these people are going to buy lightning lanes and Genie Plus, and those of us who can't buy it, we've got to wait for them, and we're going to wait in line longer. But basically, there were 3 different lines for web slingers.
yeah.
There's the standby line, which I stood in that the first time because I didn't realize there was a single rider line the first time. I only waited 40 minutes. I got on the ride pretty quick.
Oh, that's not bad at all for
Not
that
not when
one.
it told me it was a 70-minute wait. But so there's the standby line, then there's the single rider line, which I utilized the other 2 times I used it, and then there was the lightning lane entrance.
Yeah.
And so I got to see it from all angles here where they were filtering traffic from all 3 lines.
Yeah.
So instead of everybody filtering in from the standby line or everybody's got to wait for all these lightning lane people to go in, I'd sit there and watch them be like, okay, filter in some people, like they have their limit on it. So they'd filter in some people from the standby line. They'd let their lightning lane people in. Then it was 10 people from the single rider line. So they're filtering people in from all 3 lines.
Well, and the lightning lane and the standby line on I think just about every ride meet up
Yep.
before you get in.
They do. They all meet at the door. There's separate doors, at least on web slingers there was.
Yeah.
There were separate doors to go in, but it all puts you in the same spot.
But it all puts you in the same spot where you watch like the intro and then
Yep.
you're all in line for the web slinger together. Like
Yep.
it's not separate at that point.
Yeah.
So it's like you're
Single
all getting,
rider for web slinger does filter you into a different spot. Like
It
you
is
go down
separate.
to this little like alleyway essentially into the basement, and then they kind of use you to fill in empty
Yeah.
seats. But I thought personally, the way they were doing it, they filtered traffic very well, and I don't feel like I had to wait too long in any line.
I mean, I liked it honestly. I was a fan of Genie Plus and I
Yeah.
like it better than booking out my stuff way far in advance. I I liked being able to pick that day because that day we would look and be like, the lines are shorter over at DCA. Let's jump back over
Mm-hmm.
there and I'm going to book the lightning lane for this one.
Yeah.
So I thought it gave me more autonomy to
Yeah.
the day versus like when we were in Disney World and we had to book our fast passes so far in
Yep.
advance. It was stressful because I'm like, well, no matter what we do this day, we have to be over here at this time
Yep.
because that's when our fast pass is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
It's nice to
like
just
it.
look at the Genie Plus tip board and be like, oh, look at this. This ride only has a 20-minute wait, and this ride has a lightning lane for 2 o'clock. Book the lightning lane, go ride this ride.
Yeah, and with the lightning lane, when you pay for the lightning lane, you also get like they're like, let's make it more worth your money. Like here's a bunch of like free audio that you can listen to. Like behind the scenes information, which I listened to all of none because I'm
You're
there with my
standing in line with a bunch
friends
of
and
people and your
like
friends.
yeah, like so maybe at some point it would be cool to
Sure.
listen to like when we go with the kids or something like maybe
Yeah.
we would listen to it, but overall, I personally was a fan. I did like it. I did feel like it was worth the money,
Yeah.
and it gives you that choice. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you don't like it, don't get it.
Yeah.
If you want it, then just make sure you plan ahead and just think of it as part of the
It's part of
ticket
the
price.
cost because what in California it's $20 a day per guest.
Yes, and then in Florida it's 15.
And it's 15 in Florida. So
Yep.
yeah, you do have to factor that in. Like it does tack on some extra money. But so you, as a person who used it, liked it. Me, as a person who didn't use Lightning Lane and pay for Genie Plus, felt like it
still
filtered
helped
traffic
you.
better.
Yeah.
Like from my standpoint, I felt like it did help my wait times in line.
Yeah. Like it's a change, so people are obviously going to grump about it.
I mean, everybody does when something changes.
But overall, honestly, like I was kind of impressed. Like it is a little confusing. There's a little bit of a learning curve,
Sure.
but once I got into the flow of it, I was like, "Oh no, I like this. This is good." Yeah. Like I was happy with it. I'm glad we did it. Definitely glad we did it. It was a little busier, I think, when we went than when you went.
It probably was.
So for us, it was definitely...
Because I went on a Friday in the middle of the day. So it wasn't... That Friday wasn't bad. Saturday was a little more crowded, but...
Yeah, I think the weekend that we went was just a little bit busier than when you went.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy that we got it, and I liked it.
Oh, perfect. So there it is. Some perspective on someone who's used Lightning Lane and paid for Genie Plus, and someone who did not pay for it.
Yeah.
And use complimentary versions. If you've used it or haven't used it, if you feel like dropping your thoughts and opinions, keeping it nice and conversational on our Facebook page, by all means do.
Yep.
But and this almost turned into a full episode. It's about 30 minutes long, so it's okay.
It's me. I talk a lot.
It's all right. It was good to have you back at least this time.
Yeah.
But we will keep it going and get this back on regular programming this summer.
Yep, sounds good.
That's it for this week's episode of Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Don't forget we need your mouse tales. If you have a funny, weird, exciting, or just a favorite Disney memory, send it to ashesandwilldodisney@gmail.com so we can read them on the show.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ashes and Will Do Disney. This is a public group to follow. We're also on YouTube at Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a magical day.